Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 360 in this thing, baby. Representing TKOG. Whew! And today, you guys, I'm going to be updating Virtual Worlds. So, I actually have some meta decks, right? So, I'm trying my best to get to 40 cards without basically sacrificing the stuff that I enjoy. So, this list is exactly 40 cards, you guys. It's exactly 40 cards. I have no idea how hard this was for me. I will say my extra deck is missing a Zeus, and there's like a synchro. There's a couple synchros that I want to try out. I just don't have them. So there's a couple things that I would change as far as the extra deck goes. But for the most part, it is what I want it to be. The main deck, obviously, for Virtual Worlds, for the most part, a lot of the stuff is going to be pretty straightforward because there's not a lot of wiggle room in deck building with this deck. So you guys are going to see the standard lineup, etc., etc. But I will kind of go into my thoughts on like how good this deck is. So I'm going to be doing this, Prankids, Drytrons, and then I'm going to be going back into my meta-analysis. And I need to start studying Sword Souls and Flunderies and also Bravehearts or Brave Tokens or however you pronounce it. There's some really interesting stuff that's coming out that honestly, quite a few of them I really do want to play. I might actually start playing meta this format because Sword Soul looks really cool and so does Flunderies, and those decks really pique my interest. And if you like this kind of content and you've seen my channel at least once prior to this video, I highly recommend subscribing. I would greatly appreciate it. Leave a like of the video if you end up liking this, or a dislike if you don't, and just leave your honest opinion and feedback in the comment section because I really would like to know what you guys want to see, what you know, how you want it done, etc., etc., and what you want to see more and what you want to see less, so that I know what to do moving forward. And if you guys would like to support my channel, which I would greatly appreciate that, if you check the description box, there's a couple links to my Patreon, the PayPal, the Discord that you can join, just things that you can do to support me. I would appreciate any of them, but you don't have to do any of them. So let's get into the profile. So yeah, you guys, Virtual Worlds. Honestly, I knew VFD being banned wasn't going to do anything to this deck because it didn't affect the deck itself. It just affected the inboards that you could make. This deck has such a great grind game. It's honestly a phenomenal deck. It's very unique, which is why I personally like this deck. My biggest issue had always been bricking, but this list is perfect, you guys. This is probably like the most consistent list that I can make, keeping in mind the weaknesses and drawbacks that this deck naturally has. The only thing that I could probably do to make it even more perfect is just like adding Gamma for those hands. We all know those hands are like, you have like one Virtual World, like a Lulu or a Lily, or even a Gigi, and you're like open Kowloon, and you know you can like lose to an Ash. So other than that, the list is just, it's perfect, you guys. I love this list a lot. So let's get started. We're playing 3 copies of Lulu, 3 copies of Lily. These are preferable cards to open. We're also playing 3 GGs and 3 Lala. You just cannot cut these. This is every list. Has to play 3. I really hope that Konami, thank you Lord Jesus, releases another Virtual World name. Even if its effect is like niche, if it just reveals and targets a Virtual World card and sends something a different type to summon itself, that would give us 15 starters. This deck would be insane. I mean, this deck already is insane. I'm not gonna lie, it's not like an exaggeration. This is a really, really powerful deck, you guys. Very incredible, amazing grind game. The recursion, you have like just, you can recycle everything with this deck. Your extra deck, your main deck, your main staples, your engines, your follow-ups. The inboards are great. I mean, just very, very solid. The only complaint I have with this deck is just the consistency. But if you guys test this list, you will actually find that, yeah, dude, I mean, Virtual is still going to brick, unfortunately, no matter what. But you're going to find that it rarely ever happens. And I think that's my biggest frustration with this deck that's kept me from playing it on and off, like consistently. I'm on and off with it, but this list, this is like where I want it to be. You guys are gonna see. I played just 2 Nian Yan. It might as well be 4. So this is a 38 card deck because I cannot find my 2 emergency teleports. So it's basically like either 4 Nian Yan or Lulu. For the most part, you do want to summon Nian Yan. It's just one of the better cards to summon. Nian Yan is an amazing extender. The card is actually incredible. For desires, for prosperity. The card just looping your resources really, really good. If you banish a Chuche, your main combo, you could put it back and then still send it in the middle of your combo. Yan Yan's just incredible. You really can't change these. These are the only monsters that I play. I actually don't play hand traps in my list because I find with virtual worlds, it's already so difficult to combo with your hand. Sometimes you need at least 2 cards to go off, sometimes 3. If your opponent has a hand trap, you need 3 at that point. And I find if you hand trap your opponent more than once, you're in a really bad position. And unfortunately, most decks need to be hand trapped multiple times. And I actually find that I break on hand traps with virtual worlds. The only hand traps that like kind of help are like Ash and Bell because they're level 3 tuners that you could summon and combo with. But you guys are actually gonna see what I play instead because they actually do have a higher ceiling and they win more games than hand traps do. You guys will see. So we're playing 3 Desires. I like Prosperity a lot more, and I would play Prosperity if I had it. But honestly, Desires is still a really good +1, and it helps you to dig for your for not only your engine cards, but like you could draw an engine card plus an extender or a staple. So it's not a bad like budget alternative for Prosperity. The Prosperities that I won from all those tournaments I topped, I ended up selling them just to get the money because I needed the money. We have 3 copies of Goods. So Foolish Barrel Goods, I know a lot of people don't play this card, but this deck has a really bad issue of breaking. And you can say, oh, what if you draw 2? You're just going to discard the other one off the Quinlong like this. You just can't brick on this card. In fact, you brick more without this card. I've tested with and without, and it's just, I can't cut Foolish Barrel Goods. Like, there's so many times, like, if you just draw this in test hands, like, if you grab a Foolish Barrel Goods, right, and you draw 4 cards next to it, 10 times out of 10, this card's going to unbrick you every single time unless you draw 0 virtual world names along with Foolish Barrel Goods. And at that point, it's still going to at least give you a fighting chance. So there's just no drawbacks to it. People say stuff like, oh, it makes your Quinlong deck. Like, okay, so like, you're saying you just rather brick then. That's what you're saying. You're saying you'd rather brick because like you care that like the Quinlong you sent off of Lulu, you can't use it now because you already used Quinlong. But in reality, if you didn't use Quinlong to start your combo, you wouldn't even be comboing. So like the counter arguments are just so ignorant. It just doesn't make sense. The card's incredible, and if you already have seen Quinlong, you could dump Zhan Wu or Chuche. The card can be an extender or it can be a modulator so that you can fine-tune your combo. It's just always going to be an extra piece that adds to the pretty much the whole composition of the combo. You need so many different things, you know, like for the most efficient board. And if you only open with one name, then that's where like Foolish Barrel Goods can also be clutch for you. It's just a really, really good card. We have 3 copies of Kowloon. Card is really, really insane, you guys. This card is nuts. It forces negates going second, going first. It's a phenomenal starter. Card's just amazing. 3 Qinglong or Quinlong, however you want to pronounce it. This card obviously is insane. This is a huge part of your grind game. Your follow-ups, you dump one of these, you're going to be searching off one, then you're going to dump another one, then you're going to get your in-phase GG. I highly recommend you prioritize Shinshin. Shinshin plus just any other disruption paired with the Chuche. Just 2 disruptions in a Shinshin, believe it or not. People feel like it's a common Yu-Gi-Oh mindset. You feel like you have to have the craziest, baddest, scariest looking board to win, but you really don't. And I highly suggest prioritizing Shinshin because it gives you better follow-ups. Because if your board gets broken completely and all you're working with is the Quinlong you have engraved, when you have Shinshin, it makes you able to start your whole combo off. Even if you're top decking literally just 1 card, you can just banish summon Shinshin, use your Quinlong to search, discard your top deck, and you can start comboing again. But if you do not summon Shinshin on your first turn, and you're like, I just want the biggest board, I want to go for Dragoon, stuff like that, and your board does get broken because you felt it wasn't breakable, quote, quote, you're playing with a top deck that you can't even use because even if your Quinlong searches, you still need a name to actually target. So I think it's really important to prioritize Shinshin, get a Quinlong engraved, resolve GG as often as possible. Heck, if you need a Vermilion mech or summon Chao Feng, get you some more follow-ups, do what you need to do. But think ahead. You have to plan ahead, especially playing this deck, because this deck has the flexibility to do so. You know, you can afford to do it, so do it. Next up, the stuff that would be hand traps. And just imagine that there was 2 emergency teleports there. I have to find mine. I thought I knew where they were, and they're just not where I thought they were. I'm playing 3 copies of Dark Ruler. Dark Ruler is superior in comparison to hand traps that try to prevent boards from happening. Whereas Dark Ruler just breaks the whole board. I mean, you just Dark Ruler, and the cool thing with Dark Ruler is it's one card that answers the whole board. Because with Virtual Worlds, like I said, you need your hand. Not only because your combos typically are 2 to 3 cards, but you have to discard cards to even be able to fully combo off. So if you hand trap your opponent 2 to 3 times, you're normally working with a hand that just loses to 1 interruption. And so I just play cards that either break the entire board instead of preventing it from happening. As you guys know, I always do. This is a common thing with me. That's the type of Yu-Gi-Oh player I am. I feel in this deck, especially because you cannot play enough hand traps, you can play 9, maybe 12. If you cut consistency for hand traps and make your deck even more bricky, you might draw 2 hand traps occasionally, and your opponent's still going to play through them, and then you're going to be sitting here with 2-3 cards that you can't even play through anything with. And then I also play Mystic Mine in the main deck. Mystic Mine is better than hand traps against most matchups. Against Drytrons, it's crazy. Like, if you Dark Ruler and Mystic Mine, they lose the duel because they do not main deck any back row removal, and you cannot deck out with Virtual Worlds. You never deck out. You always recycle your stuff. Against Tri Brigade, they don't really main any back row removal. So believe it or not, this is just an auto win. You don't really need to even play. And if you ever need to turn your Mystic Mine off, you have Chuche to do that for you. So incredible card. It really, honestly, I'm more surprised that more Virtual World players do not play this. Like, I think cards like this and Imperial Order and Skill Drain, which are just free wins, are so good in a deck like this because you can turn them off when you need to. But that's just me. I'm not here to say someone's wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right. This is just what I like to do. And then I'm playing 2 copies of Talents. Only have 2 right now. It would be 3. These are what I feel are better than hand traps. These solve multiple problems by themselves. And this also, the Mystic Mine and the Talents can actually unbrick you. Talents helps you with your 1 name plus Kowloon hands. And then Mystic Mine lets you stall until you actually draw the right combination of cards that you need to break their board. So honestly, these are better. These are better than like Ash, Emperor, and Valor. Those cards are cute, but like, if somebody's passing to an Ash, you didn't need the Ash then, because that means the board that they were gonna make wasn't even that crazy. And then we're playing the 1 call by because, like, you know, we don't really have the 3rd talent. I'd still play 3 talent and 1 call by. And if Dark Ruler and Mystic Mine weren't so crazy, I would also play Gamma because people still try to Ash and Bell you, which is not correct. They are supposed to play around Gamma because Gamma is infamously played in Virtual Worlds. But, you know, it's just something that I thought, like, maybe I could play Gamma because, like, with your weaker hands it helps, but it's kind of like the same theory with Talents and Called By. Talents just, you have to actually get hand trapped for it to be live, whereas Gamma, like, negates it because you still might not draw a good enough cards. So, you know, there's that small drawback, but then the other thing with Gamma is, like, it does break you, you know, sometimes because of the driver, and then you'll control monsters at times, so it's like it has its drawbacks, but I still feel like Gamma is good in this deck. And then finally, we're playing 2 copies of Chuchi and 1 copy of Jianwu. This is like the perfect ratio. You want 1 on your field and then 1 in limbo, being in your grave and your banish zone back to your deck and then into your grave, and then you banish it and back into your deck. And you kind of just loop that 1 Chuchi and keep 1 on your field at all times. So definitely need multiples. And that is 38 cards, because I'm missing 2 emergency teleports. If you, like, really need hand traps and you just don't have faith and these kind of cards, just take the Mystic Mines out, take the Dark Rulers, take the Talents out. You know, you don't even have to play emergency teleport. You don't have to play Foolish Barrel Goods. You can brick more. Take the Foolish out, cut the consistency cards, play more hand traps. It's whatever you want to do. It's your deck. It's your cardboard, you know. And as long as it gets good results, like, who am I to tell you how to play your deck? If you're getting good results with a list that looks funky, it's just you could literally do anything, man. There's so many ways that you can like build a deck in general. Now for the extra deck, we have 1 copy of Zolkin. Shinshin, dude, prioritize this card. This card's insane. It can actually just warp a format centered around it because it's so good. This card just wins games all by itself. There's just so many decks that struggle with the Shinshin. It's so incredible. We have Vermilion Dragon Mech. This card is phenomenal in this deck. We have the Crystal Wing. I like to set up the Crystal Wing and Kaliga. I think Kaliga, I know it sounds crazy, And again, some people might not agree with me, but I'm not here to get people to agree with me. I'm just sharing my profile and my insight on it. I think Kaliga's better than Dragoon in this deck. Not because like you don't get pops with Dragoon, like he's still untargetable, indestructible. You know, he's still an Omni Negate. I think Kaliga ends more turns than an Omni Negate does. Like Dragoon can be outed, but it's nearly impossible for any of the modern combo decks to out Kaliga with Crystal Wing, Chuche, and Shinshin. Like that's my go-to end board is these. And even when they have like droplets, right? Like they have a lot of cards that they have to droplets, and then they have to use the rest of their cards to still break the board, even if they do get to droplet. And if they Dark Ruler, you're always still gonna have at least that Chuchi. So like this is a really good lock. Like Crystal Wing and Kaliga, it literally just ends turns. They get one monster effect, you negate it, and that's that. And then I play Juju. This card is insane. Juju is very cracked. I love Juju and Fan. Like, the Virtual World art type is actually just really good at making boards and breaking boards with just its generic, I mean, not even its generic, just with its art type specific cards. It's just crazy. Like, Juju's cracked, Chu-Chi, Qinglong, you've got Fan. I mean, dude, like, the Virtual World cards are just super duper versatile, a very flexible deck. It's kind of like just a jack of all trades when you ask me. You've got Coral Dragon and Stardust Charge. I think it's correct to play both of these. They have their applications. And then we have Muddy. I've considered playing two of this. I actually have. This card is very good in this deck. There's so many options. I really want to research more stuff and just kind of think of like everything that you can summon in this deck with Muddy, and then kind of just weigh my options. I'm playing Gaia Charger because there is supposed to be a Zeus extra deck, but there's not. I play Beatrice, so this is like more for post signing. I mean, and your main combo, you can use this to dump stuff that you're missing, but you really want to dump Orcus Crescendo and search for a Cycle Reader in your Drytron matchup. Also, post siding, you side in the new rank 6 and you side in Fossil Dyna, because like I don't really like the Fossil Dyna is cool, but like it's better like when you know for sure that you're going first, when you have control over it, like when you lose game 1 and game 2, then you side it in. Like you can do that combo and you can pretty much just lock your opponent out the game. And then also there's dumping Aerial, Shaddoll Aerial to just banish 3, so that you can make sure that Beatrice is always a disruption. I think she's really good in this deck. Some lists don't play her, and I understand, but I really like her because she gives me so many options. I can even, if Flunderies becomes more popular, I can even summon her, and then I can send Necro World Banshee and get Zombie World onto my field. So there's just so many cool tricks you can do with her that I find that she's multiple floodgates in one, and any deck that's not playing her truly is missing out on just a variety of versatility, I would say, in the terms of what you can do with her in comparative to different matchups. Like you've got Banshee for Flunderies, you've got Orcus Crescendo for the Drytron matchup. Heck, you can even send the Gnomes trap card for the Virtual World Mirror match, so you just dominate the Mirror match because they can't summon anything, because it ups all their monsters' levels in their hand and on their field by 1, or you can decrease it by 1, and you just can't summon like your odd numbers that you're supposed to summon in Virtual World. And then there's dumping Aerial just to DD Crow people, so very good card, honestly. It's worth playing. And then M7 is also really cracked in this deck. This card's crazy. And then we have Fan, one of my favorites. You gotta love when they negate and destroy the effect. And then Gossip Shadow. I know that you have your alternative route of Zulkin into Crystal Wing, but some hands, you have to kind of make Shadow. You know, you can't really get to Crystal Wing before your 5th summon, so you have to make this card. So it's just nice to have it. The extra deck is not where I want it to be. There's a couple things that I changed, and it's more just experimental synchros that I have never tried before that I would love to try. One of the funnest things about this deck is the extra deck. There's so many cool cards that you can make in this deck that you really just can't make in other decks. And it's amazing. It's no links. It's just a really good deck. It's a very unique play style, and it's kind of set into its own niche. There's no deck like this deck. There's nothing like it, and I love it. And so thank you guys so much for watching my deck profile. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave it in the comment section below. God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content, and be safe. Peace.